This is FULCRUM, a Star Wars podcast. Your way of tapping into the Force from a galaxy far, far away. Hello there.
Hello, what have we here? Here's where the fun begins.
Count me in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to FULCRUM, a Star Wars podcast brought to you by us. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And today we discuss the Acolyte's penultimate episode, Season 1, Episode 7, titled Choice. Simple. You know, we were considering what the alternative to Destiny was, and we had a lot of... I think you might have even posed the question.
Freedom?
What's something that kind of evokes... I think you might have even said what's kind of something that evokes choice.
Really?
And then said freedom as the response. So, went simple with it. It was written by Charmaine DeGrate, Jen Richards, and Jasmine Flournoy, and directed by Kogo Nada. How are we feeling about the penultimate episode of the season here?
Man, we're getting, we finally got the flashback. It was what...
Illuminating.
You know, we were guessing we were going to get. And it was very nice to get this crew back, to get just Carrie and Moss.
Actually get them this time. You know, Dean Charles Chapman, Kel Naka. Thank
God we got Kel Naka. That was kind of. I really hoped that I knew the flashback was coming, so I didn't want to say it until the end of the show. But I'm like, there's no way they're gonna bring in a Jedi Wookiee, and we're not gonna get any action with them or anything. No way we're just going to get them sliced in their own home, and that's it. And then their lightsaber even gets disrespected, and Chimera slices it in half, and I'm like, okay, come on.
Okay.
But we're here.
No.
We're here.
It's, I'm glad we got something because... And that's the thing, too, is that, I know I probably shouldn't have expected a ton out of the Wookiee storyline, you know what I'm saying? Chewbacca, the most famous Wookiee in the saga, he never really has too much of a narrative on his own, you know what I'm saying? He's just always kind of there. And obviously the way the other things affect him, we get to see, and it's meaningful because of him having been along for the ride. And the High Republic already has a Wookiee Jedi named Burryaga. So I got kind of excited that it would be more similar to Burryaga than it would be Chewbacca. But it's because it's books, and you can get inside his head. And he's speaking English to us because you're reading it on a page, not hearing him speak Shuriwook, you know? So, there is a little bit of a disconnect. There is a different... there's an advantage to that medium, you know, when it comes to the alien characters like Wookiees. But I was happy to see a little bit of Kel Naka. I was really happy to get more Torben, and I was really happy to get a strong, firm, actual characterization for Indara.
Oh, come on, yeah.
Because we'd all kind of suspected wrong of her. I think it's really important to recognize the way that every single one of them is affected by this, you know? When we watch all the other three besides Sol, they've all secluded themselves on a faraway planet that isn't directly affected by the workings of the Council, you know? They were dispatched there. It's not like they just went. But, Carrie Ann Moss is on a Jedi outpost as, Indara's secluded, and Kel Naka's obviously... He is actually exiled himself, and then Torben's taken the Baresh vow. Sol did the opposite. He, threw himself deeper into the fold, and I think that that's an interesting contrast between him and the rest of them. Maybe because he actually gained something from this, where they all feel they did nothing but lose a part of themselves a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough for all of them to come back from this, really. And then Sol is, he at least got a Padawan. You know, it was
and I think that there's a lot to, in his head, compensate for. A lot to make up for. And I think he tries, that's what's cool about recontextualizing the beginning of this show for him, is that I feel like every step he's taking, every action he makes does reckon with this. He's just he's trying his best to rectify this horrible mistake he made. And I think they all feel that way, in some way or another. They all just handle it in their different ways. Yeah, I've got a scene-by-scene breakdown. Mm-hmm. It's fucking strong. Are you ready to dive into that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, there's some strong early scenes that I'm excited for. So,
we start hot. We begin with the younger crew of Jedi on Brendok. They tend to the local foliage and sort of a monotonous days, just kind of, we get a little montage of them, putting the stuff, like, it looked like Soul, I love the passion Soul's doing it with, he's got like his little bin that he like opens and he puts the foliage in there, he's like, yeah, he's kind of like, yeah, this is my shit, Torben's obviously bored as fuck, and later on at dinner, he refuses to eat because he's bored as shit. Bored as a motherfucker up in here, and he opines to his master that this shit sucks. When do we get to go back to Coruscant? And we learn that they've been on the planet for 7 weeks, and Torben grows tiresome of their daily routine. If they haven't found anything, they likely won't. It's been long enough. And they're here because long ago, this planet was declared lifeless after a hyperspace disaster. When that is obviously no longer the case, now that there's thriving plant life.
What does that mean? Does that just mean a ship went through it, or like a the fuck hyper?
This is the plot. This is the plot of Light of the Jedi, the first High Republic book. Is the hyperspace disaster. So like they gave us the book readers a tasty morsel.
That's cool. That's okay.
Yeah. So, like, you actually can know exactly what this is if you read Light of the Jedi. You don't even, like, obviously come the movies and stuff, we feel like we've accomplished hyperspace so thoroughly that it's kind of like, how do you fuck up hyperspace, And they feel the same way at the time. Like, they're like, how is that possible? What the fuck happened? And that's the mystery, discovering how it happened for the Jedi. We kind of know, but it does become illuminated to us. It's really cool. But yeah, that was satisfying. As like she said, Indara said, it was declared lifeless after a hyperspace disaster 100 years ago, and I was like, fuck yeah. But
wow.
Yeah, I mean, at least I hope that's the one they're talking about, because that's how they refer to it, is the hyperspace disaster. They don't refer to it in any other way. Like, that is what it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming it's the same one. Otherwise, what the fuck happened again? Also, 100 years earlier lines up with the timeline with Vernestra's age and everything. So like, I'm cool with it. But yeah, Light of the Jedi. If you can read it, you should. But yeah, that was satisfying. But now we see, obviously, it is not lifeless. There's plant life everywhere, and Torben's like, well, fuck. So there's plants. Who cares? And Indara emphasizes the importance of their mission with the help of Soul, who says they're searching for a vergence in the Force, a power so unique it can create life itself. It should be protected. It should be studied. There is nothing more important to the Order. And Torben takes little solace in this. And the next day, Indara, what are you realizing over there?
Oh my God, that's how whatever the animal is called that Luke's drinking the milk from on Octu, that's how they evolve so quickly. How it's a vergence is there, and plant life, this planet was dead and lifeless, and now it is actually, like, the plant life is at least there. And
I assume that speeds up evolution. That's a good call.
A life beacon. I feel if you're near it, you're just fucking, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Just
no, you're all good.
One
you're
little
all good.
connection. I don't know really what it means, but
or if it means anything,
Yes.
But no, I feel you. That was a fun little connection to make. But the next day, Indara confides in Soul that her Padawan is too distracted to appreciate their significance on this mission, the significance of a vergence specifically, and nor are they sure that it's actually caused the life here on Brendok. And Soul comments that Torben is disturbed and unbalanced, But Indara chides that he is the one who is disturbed and that he shouldn't project his feelings. Quit that. Basically, she's like, that's how you feel, dipshit. But she says that she doesn't just tell her Padawan things. He must seek the answers for himself, and she gives him the tools to do so. Soul doesn't quite agree with this strategy, and she comments that is why she has a Padawan, and he doesn't.
Come on, Indara. I mean, Indara's getting the character for the episode. I think that's for sure. She just kind of came in and was like, let me show you why I'm actually dope.
And
as
I'm
hell.
so thankful, man. I was like, you have Carrie-Ann Moss, fucking cook, do something. And they did. They did. I knew they would. I had faith because we always knew we were getting another flashback episode. But I'm glad they allowed her to live up to my expectation of what her Jedi character would be.
The master
and I like
to the
that.
Master. It's she's the one really teaching here still, and yeah, that line was it's one of the contenders, but the other one, I don't know.
Yeah, it was strong. It was strong.
There's one other one I think I like more. I don't know, but
and it's just a first little step to show how personal everything is for Soul. He doesn't agree entirely with the idea of just giving your Padawan the tools to figure it out for themselves because he wants so badly. It's all born from a really sweet place. He wants so badly for everyone to have it figured out. He wants so badly for everyone to be safe. He wants so badly for everyone to know their surroundings, know the significance of their life and what they're doing. So he feels like he should just be able to tell them that and they'll take it, and they'll be fine. Or decide it, which we learn later on.
Yeah, it's very, like, the show is playing obviously a lot with just who's good and who's bad. Like, we're seeing the bad kind of side of the Jedi.
Is one side good and is one side bad? Like this episode really illuminated the fact that the Jedi never ever actually have ill intentions.
Yeah, it's just in principle. Like, they are the good guys, and they are intending to do the right thing, but just getting themselves involved in this at all is what caused all the chaos and all the bad that came from it. So it is a weird...
from a certain point of view, whenever Soul sneaks into the compound, he doesn't see the lesson that was taught before. He sees Anastasia push them. And then he sees Anastasia do the force push and then block. He doesn't see the whole where they were pushing each other back and forth and she was trying to teach them something. He doesn't see any of that. He sees what he sees and he forms his own picture based on what he wants to believe, which I think is an important thread for this whole series is a matter of perspective. Everyone sees what they would like to see until they are proven otherwise, and it's really strong, man. Like, this was, I think there was obviously an excitement of episode 5 and a tightness of episode 6 that was more exciting. But this was like riveting in a way that it might be my favorite of the season so far. Hard to say. Like, it was nice to get the answers we finally wanted.
Yeah, I guess, and I was preparing for like the worst of the worst answers for Soul. Like, I mean, I was getting, I don't know what I prepared for Soul to do. It's still pretty bad when we get there, but like, it is nice to have just this flashback, and then it's like I felt the urge to go back and watch those earlier episodes. I'm like, oh, now I need to now that I have this,
I would really like to watch 3 and 7 back to back. I would like to see the difference played out there. And I appreciated, that we actually we use episode 3's events as touchstones. Like, this is where we're at. This is where we're at. This is where we're at. This is what's happening at that time. And I appreciated that because, I didn't want it to just be like a fire all of a sudden breaks out and we're like, oh, we're rolling, But I'm glad they used it that way. It was a strong episode, very well directed, very well performed, very well written. But they devise a plan to split up, and Soul follows the river to find May and Osha, where we met them in episode 3 under the Boonta tree. He follows them and discovers where they come from, and calms Zendara in an attempt to get her there. He sneaks inside the compound and observes the tail end of their lesson, where he sees Mother Anastasia push the girls through the Force. We watch him clatter away, as we heard in episode 3, and then he finds multiple witches standing over the pit where they conduct their rituals, and leaves, which, presumably, this pit is the Virgins of the location where they do their ritual, where we saw that, where, like, the energy shot up through, and, you know, like, seems pretty likely that this is the Virgins in the Force that they commune with.
So I guess just the dark pit, that would...
The dark pit.
That's Octu's... So I guess, is it just that's it? That's the Virgins? So, I guess... It's just a dark. Maybe it is always a dark thing, and that's. I don't know if. Do you think there's more? Like they go back out here and they find it or.
I mean, hey, dog. Like. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not a far-fetched idea that the show will end where it quote unquote began. It didn't technically begin here, but like the events that propel the story began here. Like, do we return to Brendok? Is Brendok where the culminating event happens? Is that where we end this show? I don't get that impression, but it wouldn't surprise me if Kymir's like, I want to show you one last thing or something, you know, or you know, so like it's hard to say how we decide to wrap this up in what is, I assume, a 37, 38-minute episode. I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, if it's longer than that, hell yeah. But I'm not getting my hopes up for anything longer than that because they don't. Usually I'll be like, what do we need? An hour and a half to do this? And then they're like, 36 minutes. Good luck. Have fun. You know, and I'm like, okay, cool. And they usually do, like, I'm never concerned with runtime. It's just like my puny brain can't comprehend how you can possibly do this effectively in a short amount of time. Now, I believe that they can. They always manage it. They usually figure that out. But, like, I can't. When we connect all these different things as we keep going on with the Chimera and May stuff, May telling Osha and May's relationship, Soul getting involved with them, maybe Vernestra coming back into the fold somehow. We speculated a little bit that this, you know, you specifically speculated the Coven might not be entirely eradicated. It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem concrete, and I tend to agree after rewatch, you know. But like, how do we reckon with that? All in one episode, you know, like so, it's exciting. So like, whenever we speculate about things, whenever I say like I don't know, it's more from a perspective of I don't know how we could possibly deal with it when we already have so much to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And
we got some answers with the flashback, but then like it gave me some unexpected questions. Like, oh wait, is the Coven alive? Like, is Coral alive? Like, it feels like they are, but then if that answer is yes, how the fuck are we gonna, like, do all the future stuff and that too? Like, that, yeah, like, it's crazy. And I guess the only piece we're kind of missing is how May finds Chimera, and maybe all of that can be tidied up in that flashback alone. Like, maybe it's...
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, is a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about too can be tidied up. It can be wrapped up pretty fucking quick. You know, like, it just feels like it would require, like, I don't even know what it would require to satisfyingly communicate this information. I'm assuming we see the events as Soul honestly explained them to May. Like he said, you are going to listen. Pretty sure this is what she's listening to. You know what I'm saying? Because it's Soul's perspective pretty much the whole fucking time.
Okay.
You know, so you had the idea at the end of last week that Osha was communing with them through the helmet. It's just you and what you bring with you. You, the Force, and what you bring with you. And maybe she tries to connect to May. She does, and she hears this. Which, like, the whole thing, I don't know. I would prefer a moment where Soul got honest with her and told her, told her face to face. But, I'm not counting on that either. Like, we just don't have a lot of time. And if Osha and Soul come face to face, Kymir's there. And, there's a whole other, there's just a lot of conflict that I feel like could play out, preventing us from dealing with certain things. And I think there's a certain poeticness to Soul not being able to tell Osha and being able to tell May, because she's the one who he feels he really fucked over,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's I guess the one important perspective that we need is May. Like, we need to see what May does, I guess, just after the fall. That's, and maybe that's
right.
what we open on, is we open on Kymir and Osha. Maybe Osha gets that message through, so Osha now knows that too. I don't know if that will happen, but then May, at least we'll hear it from Soul. They have that conversation, and maybe May will be like, well, yeah, right after you drop me, or whatever. Like, now, thank you. I didn't know that. I thought I just fell, and Osha happened to be the one to live. Like, because no way they know, like, Soul was even holding them up in the first place,
The perspective they play with in episode 3, you don't know that, They fall and they stop, and you think it's just kind of metal setting. But now to know, like, that's why it would be exciting to rewatch, is because that's actually Soul fucking holding them up, and then deciding. Like, that's a that's a moment, you know.
And from May's perspective, she just thinks, "Damn, I'm the unlucky one." But obviously, she makes it out of this. She doesn't die. She does.
Yeah, I mean, where's Coral?
Yeah, that's
still
an important detail. That's true.
I'd be willing to bet the bridge between Kymir and May is Coral, in some capacity. Maybe because May has everything she needs to hate the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
She watches Soul kill her mom.
Yep.
There's not much more you need after that. That's that. She's good off that. So, like, knowing she witnessed that, it does refine the idea that maybe I used to think that she never saw any of these people again. Like, Coral, nobody, because everyone is dead. Everyone died, and that's that, But now it feels like there is a chance that people survived, and all she needed to fuel her fire was the fact that Soul killed her mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's because I didn't think that was on the table, was that one of the Jedi straight up murder their mom.
That's a big one.
Which I honestly think, like, there's we'll get to it. We're jumping the gun a little bit, but
it's hard not to on this one.
It is. But back at camp, Soul informs Indara of his findings of Force cult on the planet, and he comments that he thinks they're witches, and they quell Torben's suspicion that they may be Night Sisters. As Indara's like, we don't have all the information. They don't raise younglings, let alone train them. So, not Night Sisters. And he worries for the children. Soul does. She says that she will contact the council to see how they move forward, but he insists they must act. He fears for their safety. They prepare for a ceremony tonight. What if they are in danger? And Indara reluctantly looks to the coming eclipse as Soul continues his argument, and she agrees. They arrive at the compound and have Kelnaka slice the controls, and Indara volunteers to go alone. They'll see it as a threat if they go in numbers, which she is correct. And Soul and Torben counter that there are 50 of them, and they should remain together. And Indara, again, reluctantly agrees, though they must be vigilant.
Was there kind of a Because she says, like, yeah, 50 women and 2 children. She's like, I still got that. Was it kind of, is that like, is that what she was meaning by like 50 women and 2 children? Like one
I think it was
Jedi
more of
day?
I think it was more, again, of her realizing how strange the scenario is. Like, if 50 women and 2 children, you know? Like, how are there 50 women
That's
and
true.
only 2 children? I think is kind of how she looked at it, you know? Granted,
I feel like she was trying to, because she was trying to go in there alone, and I guess that was the point she was trying to prove. And I feel like if she's saying like, yeah, 50 women and 2 children, I can still go in alone, like still, even you know, I think I don't like feel like she is
like,
the master.
I mean,
like maybe she's
like
just that confident, you know. She's just
know?
like, yeah,
well, and
I'm fine. Like I don't need.
There might be something she's trying to tell them that's like, I am a woman, you know. They are probably more likely to talk to me than they are to you, you know, which is also...
That's fair.
Valid.
That's very
you know?
fair.
Yeah, 50 women.
She should have...
And 2 children.
She should have put
know?
some, emphasis on women. Yeah, there. And that could have been an interesting what if Indara went up alone instead.
Because, you know, that's...
Because then
it's not
Osha leaves with them. Like that was that was what was going to happen anyways. And like I mean like maybe it just completely goes peacefully. Both
like Soul is projecting much more danger onto the situation than there actually is, which is, I mean, I've seen a lot of, you know, online is going to be a minefield, especially modernly when media literacy is hit or miss, you know, and I don't blame anybody for thinking this. It's what Star Wars has always taught us. It's what Star Wars has always said in regards to the Jedi Order, which is that attachment causes this. Because he feels such an attachment to Osha, he does everything to take her with him. It's fear. You know, he's afraid the whole fucking time. He's afraid for the child. He's afraid she won't be okay. It's him feeding on fear and desire, you know, not attachment. He wants to take her with him. He's afraid that she's in danger, and that those two things drive every choice he makes in the episode. If he wasn't afraid for the children, he would have let Indara. He wouldn't have argued that Indara shouldn't go alone. If he didn't want her to come with him, he wouldn't have scaled the side of the wall with Torben to try and figure out how to stop. Because he was just told to stop Torben.
Mm-hmm.
He was not told to chase Torben down and scale the compound with them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
this is true.
So like, yes, attachment is dangerous, and this is something another High Republic book jumps into. Attachment is dangerous, but it's only dangerous because of what it causes after that. It's not the attachment itself.
If you
let
it be dangerous.
Yeah. Love is expanding. You know, it's not like, it's not limiting. If you love something, it makes your world bigger. It doesn't make it smaller, you know? Now, if there's outside manipulation, like with Palpatine and Anakin, there is a narrowing of the view, you know? But this is desire and fear, the way that Kymir frames it for Osha earlier. He's like, there's a deeper well of emotions, you know?
Yeah.
Fear, anger, desire.
It's like Jedi, they can't love because... love, inarguably, it causes illogical decisions to be made sometimes. You clearly go against logic for love, and it's just clear. There's no other way. Sometimes it's just 100% what you have to do. And for a Jedi, like they're too logical. You know, they're too
according to the Order. Yeah.
They just it can't really think that way, even though their intentions are out of love and for good and for
compassion. Yeah,
but it's they can't.
Well, and that's the central conflict, I feel like, for Jedi is the debate on attachment. I feel like it becomes, you can't love, you know, but I feel like there's something for the Jedi where, like, and this sucks, and I don't know that I 100% feel this way, but you're better off loving another Jedi. You know what I'm saying? Like there's an expanding, like you will always have the same goal in mind. They say it's like a buoy, like love, those feelings lead, like attachment, they lead to dark side feelings. But if you're loving and loving alone, it can be a buoy to the light, not the dark. You know, it helps you tip back to the good side, not the bad side, because you're going, that's what this person would want. That's what this person would want from me, you know? And so like there's a complication when it comes to the interpretation of the Order's ideals.
It's almost like they love the Order so much that that's their attachment, that they will do anything for the Order, even if it's illogical, and like it, and they feel like it's not right or what they shouldn't do. Like Soul, he does have this feeling of like something, I feel like I should be here, or I feel something with Osha, and this fire was going to be started with or without the Jedi, I guess. It's Osha's dream of being a Jedi that ultimately causes that's the root cause of the fire, but May, I guess, Osha knew of the Jedi before, right? Or I guess so. It's not like
her notebook is full of sketches of like Jedi logos and stuff. That's like what she burns.
So I guess this fire would have been started anyways. Like no matter what, even if the Jedi weren't on this planet and discovered them and came to their place and everything, it just, I guess it kind of sped the process along a little bit. But
Coral doesn't rile May up and tell her to stop this without the Jedi being there. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. And then the whole testing them, and then I want to leave.
There's a causality here. Things go bad because the Jedi interfere. You know, and whether the Jedi's interference is a inherently bad thing or good thing, that's not really what I'm commenting on, you know, but like their interference does lead to the events that happens, you know, like, cause I don't think it's born of, like I said, it's not born of a bad place. It's not born of a bad desire to want to protect these children. He witnesses their mom push the children. The problem is that they deal with it all in such secrecy. He feels like, again, he's letting his projections of feelings decide what the situation is. He doesn't ask questions. He doesn't try to inquire from the mother what they're doing. Because I feel like if the mother tells him what they are doing or what she at least wants for her children, you know, like there's a lot of very vague language that May uses before long about, you know, sacrifice and all this, and that those are negative words. It means people are gonna fucking die, you know, like, so I'm like, it's just, I mean,
is there still the possibility that there is something darker to the cult that we don't quite know? Like, I mean, obviously there's this
I'm certain that I'm certain they use the dark side of the Force. Now, what that's for, I don't know, you know, like we don't know what their goals are. We don't know why they want, you know, I have some theories about what the Ascension actually is and what it technically means. But what that motivation is born of, what they're trying to achieve in ascending Osha and May, I don't know, you know, like, and I don't know that we're actually going to get those answers, at least not next episode.
Man, is it really just kind of sending like season 2 vibes? Like, I
mean, that's the thing, is that like this thread, no pun intended, this thread, I don't think needs to be tied up. I don't think we need to know why May and Osha were being created by this coven. I don't think we need to know. What we do know is that they, like, my theory is that they want them to be a virgins, not the location on Brendok, but them. They're trying to create a vergence in people, not in the place, so that wherever they go, their numbers can grow. Is kind of how I look at it. You know, they never have to be alone again. They never have to be secluded again. But I also think that the ascension, with the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, likely means that they all would have taken the mystified form and been absorbed into May and Osha, is kind of how I look at it. So that they are their future. Like, I think that's expressly what Anastasia says, is that the children are our future. Their wishes must be considered, you know, like it's, so I don't know, you know, and another thing that is important in understanding their intentions is, where did they come from? How long have they existed? You know, are they, you know, we've speculated about a connection to Chimere. Have they been prolonging their life? Is there a reason they're worried about needing a future? You know, are they on the verge of their demise? Do they know that they are? Like, so there's a lot of questions, and not nearly enough to wrap up in one season, but the questions are also not directly important to the central thread of this story. True. So it's like, that's the thing, is that, like, while I'm curious and while I would like to know, they don't have to answer that for me to feel like the show is complete. Like, they could leave that pretty vague and I'd be satisfied. Now, if they did do a season 2, I would be disappointed if they don't pull on that thread. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I'm at. I'm like, I don't think they need to, and if it is just one season, it's cool. If they do a second season, they better fuck with this stuff. You know, like, I want to know about this stuff. So that's just kind of where I'm at. I don't think it's possible to do all we have to do and that next week.
Yeah, that is quite a lot. I mean, and if they are alive and there is still all of these questions and they do answer them and they do tackle it next episode, they probably pretty quickly just have to be wiped out, or, you know, something. Like, Chimere just has to come in, kill them, take May. That's it. Or, like, well,
that's my thing, is that, like, I severely doubt. Like, I think when May goes to the Bunta tree, like, I really don't. I can't comprehend the idea that she would follow the stranger after he kills everybody. You know what I'm saying? If she knew that. I also don't get the impression that the stranger raised May.
Like, she found him later on.
Yeah. I feel like there would be a relationship they have that they very clearly don't if he found her immediately after this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he found her and has been raising her for 16 years, their kinship would be a little different than the one we see them have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this gap in May's life is very, very interesting, because we know Osha's just in the Order and eventually gets spit out. So I guess if they always kind of have the same but opposite lives, maybe when Osha gets spit out of the Order is when May finds Chimere. But what happens? What happens while Osha's in the Order? What's May doing? Like, what is she?
She might just be alone. You know, like the opposite of what Osha is getting, which is surrounded by thousands of beings exactly like her. May just might be festering in her lonesomeness and growing in her anger and becoming more alone, and it leads to her finding the dark side, you know? Because I think it's clear that, unlike Osha, she's been consistently cultivating her power. She's always been interested. I feel like she's already interested in that anyway. Now, and again, that's why I'm like, what we have time for next, I don't think we get answers as to what May's been up to in that gap.
Really?
No, yeah. I don't think we get any more flashbacks.
That's what I thought next. That's the opener, like May's perspective, like right after she falls is we get how she survived. I feel like that's important enough.
I mean,
to need to be answered in this season. I feel like of how May survived.
How May survived the fall, or how May survived the time.
The fall, just the fall, like just how she got out of there, and I guess we know she just gets to the tree after everything is out. So yeah, no way she like sees Coral before she walks out to that tree, you know, and then like
I mean, Coral could have died saving her from the fall.
That's true.
That could confirm our wonderings about where Coral is, and that could set that to rest. But like, yeah. So like, I could see it, and it wouldn't take too long, you know. But like, I meant more like I don't think we get.
Oh, the whole thing
a gap,
with another
you know, like because I like the gap, the 16, like when we're wondering when she met Chimere and all this, you know, like maybe we exposition our way to that a little bit, you know, like I found him this many years after that, you know, or whatever the fuck, but like, so like, yeah, that's my thing though, is that we know she survived, we know she's Force sensitive. So like that's where I'm like I could take her leave of that, how she survives the fall. Like I see where you're coming from, and I would be down to see it, but I think since we know
the pits don't line up, right? Like the one pit they have the ceremony over, and then the pit she falls down. That's not the same cavern.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so,
because
they might be connected, but they're not the same hole.
Because, like, it's not. There's no way. It's like a portal. But, like, I don't know. Is it possible no one saved her and she just fell through a portal and just pops out somewhere? Like, no, because she goes to the tree.
She's at the Boonta tree.
She goes to the tree, so yeah, no way. Yeah, I guess that definitely
Yeah, and, you know,
happen.
it could... Yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel like we're in a corner with May a little bit. That's kind of like, we don't, like, if we answer that question, I feel like if we were going to answer that question, it would have been the same ending as episode 3. We would have seen how May got to the tree, not just, because that's how episode 3 ended, was May pulling up to the tree and being like, Osha, and that was where it ended, you know? So, like, I feel like just pacing-wise, mirror-wise, we would have dealt with that. But, you know, it was Soul's perspective episode. So, like, if the first one was Osha's, maybe she just thinks May, that's what May would do, you know? Like, but I don't love that.
I don't know.
You know?
It feels everything else tracked. Like, they played with the timing of some things, but, like, everything was 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Pretty 1-to-1. And I feel like if Osha just thinks that that's where May went, yeah, I don't know. At least that wasn't the idea. The idea is that was just May. May was really there. But
yeah, that's why I'm like, I'll be cool with it if we deal with it. I wouldn't expect that. That's where I'm at. Like I'm cool with that. I would like, because I don't think it's unquestionable that she will answer some of our questions about her. I do see that potentiality. Maybe Chimere explaining it to Osha, how he found May or something. I don't know. But I wouldn't count on it in flashback form with like the young actress and seeing it. Yeah. I would see it more as an exposition thing. But I mean, regardless, I'm excited for the finale, man, because like I don't know how they're gonna do it, but it's been good enough that I trust they will, which is that gives me faith, you know. But let's see, where was I? They enter the compound, the Jedi, and they find themselves in the standoff we saw prior. Though this time, Anastaea's connection to Torben is much more fleshed out. As their conversation occurs in the quote-unquote real world, Torben is lost in a netherworld where Anastaea feeds on his selfish impulses. He wants to go home. All he needs to do is ask her. The darkness overcomes him, and when he comes to, he is visibly shaken. This was a wonderful scene.
Whoa. Yeah, it's my scene. It's the one I ended up picking. It's the first one I put down. There's some good scenes at the end, but that's for sure. But I stuck with this one for overall.
I spread the love. I saw that you put this in there,
Whoa.
so I went somewhere else. But yeah, this is a good fucking scene, man.
And I wanted to ask you, did Anasea connect to Torben instantly when they walked in the room and was kind of working on this in the background while she was talking? Or is it that all of this kind of conversation happened within like a millisecond in and then boom,
It happens the whole time.
Like in a subconscious,
there's too much. Yes, there's too much editing going on. Like they show Torben just kind of staring at Anasea as the conversation's going.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and then when he drops to his knees in the vision, he drops to his knees in real life. So like, it's happening. She is having a whole other conversation with Torben as this is happening.
Whoa.
Which I don't know how that's possible. But that's fucking cool.
I mean, it felt like a Marvel thing. Like it felt like Scarlet Witch sort of esque, and like, but it feels so right in Star Wars. I don't know, like this feels just it's not out of place whatsoever.
No, I mean the Force Witch thing, like that's
oh my god, this was so cool. Like
you get to play with this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
It works really well.
And Jodie Turner-Smith, she's getting the performance from me for mainly like for this scene right here. I thought it was, I don't know, she just was super the repetitive nature of just some lines just being creepy and manipulative and all sinister, but then also later on
and seductive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
like
she's
ask me. Like it's like I don't know, a lot of different emotions going on.
I would give you whatever you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like she is trying her best to evoke his darkest feelings, which is, so like there is something interesting about that. That is a little bit more like, is there something to the idea that in order to succumb to this darkness, they have to have these conversations and they have to accept their darkness.
It has to be them.
Yeah.
Like
they have to choose to take it.
The mistake that Soul made. If like that Indara said, you have to let them learn their own way, but Anasea is doing the exact kind of opposite, kind of leading him into the path that he shouldn't, or whatever. So, I mean, it's crazy how many parallels, like I don't know if it's on purpose. I don't know,
no, I think I think it's just thematically, like a lot of it, they're going off a central idea at any given point, and every character pivots around it, and that was one of my favorites. I think that Kel Naka's is a little different. I think Kel Naka's just possessed because there's like 50 of them doing it.
Yeah, overpowered.
I think when it came to Anasea, she was trying to get Torben to accept her, essentially, and maybe it's not a thing where she needs to, but there is an almost, maybe it's easier to hold a possession if they naturally succumb than forcing them into it,
Are these bodies really even, like, do they care? Like, is the body just like a flesh bag to them, and their
a vessel? Their
real soul is just that dark thing, and that's really all they care about. Like, what if this isn't even like their first body? Like, if like, and that's why they're all women. I don't know. They all just. I don't like. Is that a possibility that like that? It feels that they all just were born this way. They chose the dark, and that's just their souls corrupt, and it's the power they have. But I mean, I guess they've.
Well, that's
all
what's
been
interesting
through
too, is that like
the ritual.
I wouldn't say that they're corrupted either. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just the visual nature of it looks pretty demonic and just not.
I mean, it's clearly engaging with the dark side of the Force. Now, but they're not antagonizing anyone. Their leader is a non-violent believer. there's very little reason to believe that what they're doing is anything beyond self-preservation. You know, they're trying to stay alive. You know, similar to what Kymir says, you know, that the Jedi say we can't exist. So they have their version of fighting back against that, which is secluding themselves and trying to exist, you know? Now, if they do have a larger plan, which it seems they do with May and Osha, I don't know what that entails. I don't know if Mother Anastasia... I have a tough time believing Mother Anastasia would be cultivating a power in May and Osha if she intended to use it for a dark purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is a purpose, but I don't think it's an inherently evil purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like she wants to take over the fucking galaxy. I don't think, you know?
Feels like it's just future proofing. Like, is kind of what I get to is that they're just kind of future proofing their coven. They're at risk. They're on the run, and they're just like, well, at this rate, we don't have any men. There's no way we can reproduce. The only way we can reproduce is with this virgins, and we can't create a bunch of things, so we might as well create one or two super powerful beings and put our life force into them and let
the power
them
of many.
live. Yeah, and then,
you know, like if they combine all of their power in the bodies of these two, which they all but say, I'm fairly certain now are a dyad, which I have to imagine would be a vergence in the Force, the way, you know, Rey and Kylo can pass things through space and time.
What's going to be passed? Is that going to happen? The helmet? A saber? Is it going to happen?
I don't really anticipate them using the dyad in that way. I anticipate them kind of just...
I feel like they would have established something before.
Like they would have already had that Force FaceTime thing going on, you know? But, yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't... So, like... They do everything but use the words for me that they're a dyad. The language that they are using about them being a virgins and not about them being a virgins, but being created by the virgins, and their M count is incredibly high, and their symbionts are the exact same. You know, I don't think that's required for a dyad, but I don't know how that happens without them being a dyad. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know. I was about to say, does that mean Rey and Kylo somehow, you know, obviously they're boy and girl, but like but
I don't think it's a requirement for them to be a dyad to have the exact same symbionts. I'm just saying that since they do, it might not be there might be a much more physical component to their dyadship than Rey and Kylo's. Like, there might just be like, you were born like this, your symbionts are the exact same, you're two different people, but you're one.
Like, have we heard that anywhere else? Like, is that, like, in cloning, the word they use for, like, their DNA makeup, or is this a new kind of...
Phantom Menace briefly touches on the idea that the midichlorians are a symbiotic life form. So... When he says their M count is extremely high and their symbionts are the exact same, they're just not saying midichlorians. I think the midichlorians are the symbionts, is kind of how I look at it.
Okay, I see.
I think that they've tried to avoid using the word midichlorian ever since 1999. They've been like, don't touch it. People, like, M count, mysterious, like, okay, yeah, I don't know what that is, you know, like, but, like, for some reason, people fucking hated midichlorians in 1999, because there was, like, a physical component to the Force that they didn't dig, and I can respect that, but, it's obviously evolved quite a bit since there were 4 movies, so,
yeah, now,
but,
I don't know.
Yeah, the symbionts, I'm fairly certain, are just the midichlorians that he's talking about. Like, their M count is extremely high, and not only is it extremely high, the literal symbionts are the exact same, which is... Yeah, I'm like, you know, again, we will get there. But they enter... Oh, wait, let's see. Where was I? Okay, we were talking about the darkness overtaking Torben, and they go on their way and back to the ship, where Torben sits still uncomfortable. Sol approaches and speaks to Indara in private, and she commends him for suggesting they test the girls. It buys her time to convene with the council for guidance. And he didn't have such a tactile approach, however. He feels something in Osha. He sees her, and he feels a connection. She is meant to be his Padawan. Almost sounds like he wants an acolyte. And Dara warns that this isn't something they can take seriously. They're too old and too ingrained in their coven. The council will never approve, nor will the coven itself. And he argues that they marked May with dark magic, but Indara reminds him that ceremonial markings are customary in many cultures in the galaxy. And Sol argues that Osha didn't have one, though, and he worries she's not safe. Which Indara can and does agree with. You know, she may have resisted the marking. There's no way of knowing. Yeah, well, you showed up right when she was about to get her marking. So.
That is true. Another
going
thing
off, half-cocked, maybe talked. There's just a lot more conversation that needed to be had to avoid this misunderstanding.
I wonder if like there is a transformation that is done during the ritual, that there's just a physical difference between May and Osha, where maybe May, she starts to kind of fade into that form, whatever. Maybe Osha's like incapable of that form. I don't know. Like maybe it's not in their nature. It's until
they take the ascension.
But
well, that's what's also interesting is that when she explains the ascension, it becomes clear that they didn't all do it.
Yeah, it's only for like the leader. It's
this was for them, you know, like, and that's why I'm like, because you know, notably, none of the other people have the swirls either. You know, it is just Mother Anastasia. You know, so like, it's so hard to tell exactly what would come of this if they succeeded, and maybe the culmination of the show is them completing the ascension. Maybe Osha does accept it, and her and May join forces, and they become something more. But regardless, Sol feels righteous in this calling. He asks who is protecting this child if not the Jedi. He believes she wants to leave with them. And Dara reminds him again not to project his feelings. Do not confuse what you want, or what she wants, with what you want. And she marches off. The following day, May is brought in for her test. She fails, on purpose as the Jedi can tell, but they get important information about the Coven from her. She tells them about the Ascension. Her marking is a result of it, and she quite likes the marking, and Dara even compliments it as beautiful. And she continues that the Ascension must be very important to include a marking like that. It is, this was really important to me in displaying just how manipulative Sol is.
Yeah.
Like, there is a much more tactful approach than the one he takes. And Indara puts it on display hard, you know? And
Sol just wants Osha to pass so that he can have her as her Padawan. That's like, it's all he cares about. Nothing else. The mission doesn't matter. What else is going on to actually get the true information doesn't matter. Dude is one goal and he's set.
Narrow focus, yeah. But, yeah, and Dara continues that the Ascension must be very important to include a marking like that, and May agrees. It means one day her and Osha will lead the Coven. And Indara questions how that can be, given that they are, you know, small children. And May, again, agrees. She doesn't know. But her mother says that they must walk through fear. Everyone must be sacrificed to fulfill their destiny. Which evokes a worried glance from Sol, which Indara shares.
Yeah.
Which, that was important to me. We were discussing last night about Anastasia, like, you were speculating, like, so with Anastasia, I was like, I think all these people, I think everybody would be absorbed into them somehow. Everyone will be sacrificed to fulfill their destiny. Yeah, like, I think all these motherfuckers would die in order to serve their future. But Endara politely thanks May for the explanation and bids her farewell, and Sol clocks her purposeful failure and asks to try a new approach with Osha, which he is granted permission for. And we cut to his attempt to sway her to the Jedi, which Torben and Endara both seem to agree is wildly inappropriate. Even Torben, who most of the time agrees with Sol in this episode, is looking at Endara like, This isn't normal, like this is not what we're supposed to be doing, and Endara looks fucking not okay with what is happening. And Endara ultimately cuts them off to proceed with the tests, and Sol agrees, and he watches as he tests her, and when she gets one right, Sol just kind of sits back and smiles, and she is not happy with it.
Yeah, dude takes one correct answer and is like, we're done here. Wraps. I mean, It's over. No further questions needed, Your Honor. My Padawan is here. And...
My Padawan hath arrived. Yeah, no, it's pretty. It's. We already could tell Sol was being a little manipulative in the third episode, but at least this episode gave us context that it's because he wants her as a Padawan, not just because he wants her to join the Jedi. Like in the third episode, it seemed like it was just like with the Jedi, you'll be more connected to more people like you. There are other children, like you can, come with us, and that was already a little off-putting, but now there's such a personal touch to it that's like, even Endara does not fuck with it. So like,
wow, the parallel between Sol and Chimere is just getting clearer and clearer, and because the Jedi, the guy you expect to be the good guy, is doing the things that the bad guy would be doing, and Chimere is doing the good, or he still has Osha basically prisoner, so I mean it's still kind of captive and bad guy things, but acting like the better guy.
Well, they both are offering the illusion of choice, like they are both offering her the chance to feel like she is choosing. And Sol, if I do believe that if Osha had been like, never mind, I don't want to do this, Sol would have been okay with that. Like it is because he feels within her that this is what she wants that he presses it so hard. But still, I mean, like the Coven says, like she's 8 or whatever, like. She wants to be an intergalactic hero, peacekeeper with the laser sword. Like, yeah, so did I when I was 8. You know what I'm saying? You think I wanted to be Catholic?
They are forcing her to be the future of the Coven, though, and not just a kid.
True.
So it's like, I think that's the conflict there. Is like, it could be out of good intentions, but at the end of the day, they're getting wheeled into this whether they like it or not. And it could have been a choice that she thinks she wants, and she is young, whatever. But at least it's something that's hers. That it is a choice.
No, yeah, and I can't blame Osha for wanting that. That's not what I'm trying to say either. Like that's that makes sense. It's just predatory for Sol to feed on that. Like it's
just sucks that Sol would.
It's
be the
not
master.
up to him.
Yeah, like,
it's not up to him, but he makes it up to him. But. Later, Endara tells Torben to run the girl's blood samples, and she's contacted the council for instruction. In the meantime, the other three will continue the field work, and on his way out, Sol reminds Endara with gusto that Osha passed.
Yeah.
And Endara's like, chill the fuck out. Okay? Go. In so many words. She's like, yeah, I'll talk to the council and I'll let you know what they say. Okay, buddy? But at the camp, Sol paces waiting for Endara. He says something is wrong, and he runs to greet her arrival. She tells him, bluntly, the council said no. They will not sanction the removal of the twins from their home, and Torben argues that there is something dangerous about the Coven, and who can blame him? As he has been possessed once already.
Yeah.
But Sol piles on that Endara herself can feel that the twins are not safe. And Endara says that the council says they've interfered too much already, and Torben asks if this means they can at least go home. And She's like, no. And he's like, fucking Christ. You know, he gets all pissy, and Soul asks to speak to the council. Osha passed, he says. And Indara reminds him that it was after he coached her. You know, she tells him not to alter this little girl's destiny just because he has formed an emotional attachment to her. And he raises his voice and says, that is not what's happening here. And everyone kind of goes,
it's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, they're like, Soul.
Come on.
You know, like, come on, buddy. And he brings it down a little bit. He says he just wants to do what's best for Osha. And Indara reminds him that is not for him to decide.
Wow, it's kind of just Torben makes the selfish, or he just wants to go home, so he's doing it fast and shouldn't have. Soul, the selfish want for a Padawan, and it's if those desires, I guess, are taken out and they remove themselves from the equation, like Indara, I guess, is doing the whole time. Being
which, you know,
Jedi.
like there's an argument to, like, how good is that? You know, like, how good is it that Indara is removing her entire perspective from the situation, you know, like, because she does feel that there is a danger, you know, she does feel that. She watched what happened to her Padawan, you know, like, so I love that nothing is cut and dry. There is nobody you can point to and go, they're right and they're wrong. This thing they do is right, but this thing they do is wrong. And I feel like that's across the board. There's like no character you can point to where that's not the case. And I think that's fucking cool, you know, like that's I love the gray areas they're rocking with right now. But it is then that Torben's datapad bleeps and Soul rushes to see the results. His little run up to him was super funny because it was like 3 steps.
He's just so excited.
He is. And Torben informs them their M count is unbelievably high, incredibly force sensitive. Furthermore, they have the exact same symbionts. Even twins would be different. This is impossible without manipulation. And Soul questions if the twins were artificially created, and Indara says they could have, by tapping into a power dense enough to split one consciousness into 2 bodies. What does that mean?
Because, what's her name? Shoot. Other mom, not Anna.
Coral?
Coral says she carried them. Like, they were in a womb. So it's
They were created in a womb, though.
Okay,
Like,
okay, true. Yeah. Yeah, what the fuck? So, like, one... Because is that what a dyad is? Or they just happen to be a dyad that also is one consciousness split into 2? Because it doesn't feel like Rey and Kylo
are one consciousness split into 2, you know? But that's the thing also, is that they've lived completely separate lives at this point. I don't feel that way about May and Osha either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like they are...
Maybe that's
They've
the
said
point.
things about them being always one but born as 2 and, you know, stuff like that. But...
be a crazy point to make, but maybe it's like that's the consciousness. It doesn't matter. Like, if it's there, it's there. It doesn't. There is. It festers
maybe they're
on
taking
its
a
own.
firm.
Like it,
they're taking a firm stance on nurture over nature.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and like, or it's all one collective consciousness. I don't know. I mean, but there's no way they fucking go like. Really? Is that where we're going? Is like a firm stance on consciousness? I don't know. That's pretty deep.
No, and like that's what I'm like.
Wars.
I severely doubt we get anything further explaining what's going on specifically beyond this.
I think they're just trying to make it sound dark, and that's it. Like, it's a dark in nature, so the Jedi would not be about it. So it gives them the reason to think they're in danger and something's wrong. But
well, even so, consciousness isn't physical. You know? The symbionts wouldn't be attaching to their fucking conscience. You know? So, like, what makes them think that one consciousness was split into 2 bodies?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm like, I don't know. This felt like just a way to try to explain how they're connected without being informed enough to say particularly.
I guess if they're symbiote, like, just the fact that that's just impossible... It feels like it can only be done on, like, just a cloning level, but, like, that's not the same thing that we're dealing with. Like, at all here? Like, so I think it's just since it's impossible for that to happen, this must be the answer. Like this,
Right.
They must have done this, but
yeah, they realize only aversions could have created that type of power, and Torben grows eager. This is their ticket home, the evidence of the virgins they are here for, and he goes ahead and takes off on a speeder. He's like, let's fucking do this thing. I'm going home. And Indara's like, fucking A, Sol, go get his ass. Me and Kelnaka will take the ship. So then we reach the last 15, 20 minutes here are fucking boom, 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 boom. So, we see at the compound May and Osha be separated as Osha is about to confess she would like to be a Jedi. Outside, Coral fuels May's anger, asks her to get mad. She says that the Jedi will not warn her before they attack, and she attempts to hit her, but she force stops it, and she gets her riled up. She's like, get mad, get angry, let's do this shit. And she readies and arms her people as well, ready to take on the Jedi. And then we see the Coven attempt to convince Anastasia that Osha is not fit to make a choice like this. She does not yet understand her power. It isn't her choice. And Anastasia asks, but is it ours? And she says that this is her chosen path. It's what she wants. Her children are their future. Their wish must be considered. And one of the witches chimes in that she may be their mother, but she is also their leader. And Anastasia delivers what is probably the line of the episode. Right now, I choose mother.
Boom! Yeah. And there's no, like, her saying this, there's no way that it's, like, through an evil intention that they create,
That's like, Anastasia is a good fucking person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what's bizarre about everything going on is that, like, it would be so much simpler if Anastasia was not good.
Yeah.
But she so obviously is. And it just really gums up the works. I don't know what to think half the time. Right now, Anastasia chooses mother. Elsewhere, May fuels her anger further and instructs Coral's witches that no one can get in or out. May smashing the shit up and being like, nobody gets in or out. You know, it's not even Coral saying that. It's her. But outside, we see that she's disabled the elevator. Sol and Torben search for a way into the compound, scaling the wall after Sol senses the conflict between May and Osha inside. And above, Indara sends Kelnaka down to stop the conflict before it begins. And in the courtyard, Coral prepares the Coven for battle while Anastasia counsels her for peace. But Coral would sooner die than let the Jedi take her children. We watch as May sets Osha's notebook alight again, and immediately, this time, we see regret it. Attempting to put it out, but dropping it and fueling it inadvertently. She tries to stomp it out, but it spreads, finding its way to an electrical panel nearby, and she calls for her mother and runs away. So, this was an interesting revelation, which was, I thought the first time was a little odd, that she would just start a fire like that. She obviously, I like the regret angle. What is interesting is that it was caused by this. The whole fucking thing, and it's because it got into an electrical panel and started an electrical fire. Which I think is that'll happen.
Truly the cause of everything.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess at the end, did it like there were like rocks crumbling, and I felt like Sol and Osha had to get out in a hurry. But was it made clear that like it all caved in, and that like
I don't think it's ever shown that way. No.
Okay. Because I was just trying to think of, like, if the Coven is alive, did they even survive the cave-in stuff? Like, there's a lot of times that they could have died, and but okay, I didn't think that we got a cave-in visual, but
yeah, no, we did not. But back in the courtyard, Torben and Sol arrive to come face to face with Anastasia and Coral, with witches above aiming crossbows at them, and Coral threatens that if they take one more step, it'll be their last. And Anastasia tells them it was foolish to return. She says that Sol says that they come with noble intentions, and Anastasia assumes correctly that they wish to know if Osha will come with them, to be raised by an institution instead of a family. And Sol asks outright, the twins, where did they come from? How were they created? And Coral glances at Anastasia, worried, who steps forward. And Anastasia speaks. My favorite line of the episode. Someday those noble intentions you all have will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy. Great foresight. Good job.
Yeah. It helps the writer's room know where the Star Wars story goes. But no, this hit pretty damn hard.
It was good. It was good. It was good shit. But Torben becomes frightened and pulls his saber, not yet igniting it. Just then, May arrives, yelling for help. There's a fire. And Sol calls out, "Osha!" This was a very telling moment. He's already decided that the good one who would come running, asking for help, would be Osha, not May.
That's...
And...
Eesh, I don't know. The dude is so tunnel visioned. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's completely written off May. He doesn't even consider her. But Coral turns to Torben in this moment, taking advantage of the distraction, and draws her weapon. Torben, in turn, gets ready to fight, and it's then that Anastasia aims to stop Coral by entering that witchly, dusted, mystified form. And at the same time, so does May, which Sol sees, which frightens Sol to the point that he ignites his saber and swiftly impales Mother Anastasia. And May screams for her mom and she falls into Sol's arms. She tells him that she was going to let Osha go. It's what she wants. She chose him. She collapses and May runs to her mom's side sobbing, "Mama, Mama," and she looks up and Sol sees that he mistook her for Osha. And he sees a vulnerability in May for the first time that perhaps he should have always, since she's a child. Coral grows enraged and tells May to run. She informs them to rain fire upon the Jedi as she attacks Sol, and Sol and Torben go entirely defensive, deflecting on Torben's part with fucking swift... I mean, this is prequel-type saber movement going on here. Love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no weapon at all with Sol. I love that he immediately is like, "That was bad. Should not have done that. I'm never going to pull this motherfucker out again." Is kind of what it seems like in the interim.
Take some punches as well. You know, he's like, kind of,
Yep, do it. I deserve that. That was bad, you know? And so, like, that was the other thing, too, is that people are being too extreme on all sides, you know, and that's just kind of how it's going to be. But this was absolutely the wrong move from Sol, as we know.
Yeah.
And Sol's perspective, I mean, you enter a dusted, mystified form with black eyes, and the child nearby starts to dust. Yeah, you know, I don't know, man. I don't feel good about it either, you know. He'd seen her force push the kids. He hadn't, like, he hadn't seen any sign that they were okay with Osha coming with them, you know? So, like, it was quick to action. It was an act of fear, and that's something a Jedi shouldn't do. But it's relatable in the sense that, like, yeah, you just gonna let somebody make their eyes turn black and turn into a dusted witchy state, bro? Like, I don't know. I get scared too. I get it. But like, we know he shouldn't have done it. We know we like Mother Anastasia. We know that it was a bad choice. He does not know that. And even not knowing that, he still immediately fucking regrets it. And I think that that's a really strong character moment. You know, whenever he refuses to ignite his saber, Coral yells, "Attack me." Which felt, felt relevant to attack me with all your force. You know, he's refusing to pull out his weapon. It's certainly a parallel to what ends up being May's future.
That's a little too specific. Maybe not just a parallel. Like,
you still think there's a possibility Coral is a Sith master?
Maybe not. Man.
Because this is the task she was given by Chimere. You know, like, it's Chimere who tells her to kill without a weapon. Now, Coral does have a weapon. That's notable.
does Coral live, and she's the first pupil of Chimere, and that's her task? She fails, she dies, May's next up?
Could be.
I don't really... How does Coral
That's the thing.
find
Like,
Chimere?
Coral's role in between, like, I have no way to fucking know. Like, they are being too vague about it. You know, like, she's obviously done something, or she will obviously be important in some capacity. And maybe not. Maybe it is just an oversight, but I don't think it is. I think she's going to be important in some way, but, like, I don't know what that way is. But amidst their battle, an explosion erupts, seen from above by Endara, and Sol ignites his saber only to disarm Coral. He then instructs Torben to run inside to fetch the twins, but it is no hope. Coral mystifies and tells them they should not have brought him here. And Torben insists his mind is fortified, but she did not mean him. It is then seen that Kelnaka is fully possessed and ready to attack Sol and Torben. He absolutely whoops their asses, just dominates them for a while. They stand barely any chance. He is being controlled by a plethora of witches, as we see, conducting a ritual in their training room. And he nearly kills Torben by choking him against a wall and forcing his saber to his side. But Sol successfully attempts to stop him. And Sol gives him the work for a second. It's pretty impressive what Sol was able to do in these moments. Whenever he disarms him and gets him for a second, but Kelnaka regains the upper hand, and he is only brought down when Endara makes her Trinity-ass entrance and flips over him and pins him to the ground, connects with his mind, and severs the connection, incapacitating the witches. Hard to say specifically what happened here. You know, I went with the perspective that they were dead. Like, the effort from this exhausted their faculties. But on rewatch, I could see that, like, maybe they are alive. I just feel like it's one of those things where if they are alive, it's too much to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, like,
why?
we don't have... Yeah.
I mean, but they not made it vague, but they left it open. It is a possibility now, and maybe that is for season 2. Maybe it is just a season 2 thing. If they want to come back to it, they can. Actually,
maybe
won't
it's something
matter for the story. And
maybe it's a glimmer of hope for the Jedi that the only loss of life that day was Anasaia. You know, like maybe it wasn't as awful as they remember it, even though it was bad. You know, maybe there's solace to be taken in that. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I can't really tell. But she tells Sol to get the twins, and he rushes inside to find them near descent on a broken bridge. He attempts to hold them both up, but when it becomes too much to bear, he must make a choice. And he focuses all his energy on Osha and allows May to fall. And he saves his Padawan. On their ship afterward, tensions are high. Torben tells his master that he is sorry, but she tells Kelnaka to send a message to Coruscant. They are going home. She tells Sol and Torben that she warned them not to interfere. Sol says he wanted the twins to be safe, and Endara finishes with no thought of the consequences. Sol rises to meet her, and says that he had to make a choice. They nearly come to blows when Torben stops them. They grow somber, and Torben asks what they will tell the council. And Endara says they will tell the truth. May burned down the witch's fortress, and everyone was lost. And Sol says he must face the council, and Endara grows petulant. Why would you do that to her? After everything she lost tonight, you'd take away her dream as well. She says that before he throws himself at the mercy of the council, he must ask himself what he did it all for, why he made the choice. It is then that Osha wakes up in a panic, and Sol goes to comfort her. When she asks what happened, Sol looks to Endara, who eagerly nods. He says, May started a fire. And the episode ends. Incredibly effective ending. I love the choice to cut it off there. Like, choice. He had the opportunity to choose to tell her the truth, and he doesn't.
It's the first thing Osha hears. Like, that's from a source that she has to... like, it's the only source of information she has. And it's...
Yeah.
Your sister did all of this. It's all your sister's fault. And I mean, obviously they're not going to come out and just be like, all right, we fucked it up so bad. We are so sorry. I don't know. It's like how he has to break a lot of news to her at once. You know, it's a heavy task that he's set, but he should have felt some guilt. I don't know, or had something, because now it's just built on a lie. Their whole relationship
But I even appreciate that the lie is born of a place to try and protect Osha, you know? Like, they still think they're doing the right thing, you know? And morally, we know that generally it's not the right moral thing to do to lie, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The alternative... What is the alternative for Osha? You know, like, we tell her the truth, she resents the Jedi, and her family's dead? Like, there's a part of you that can understand why they decide to lie to Osha. You know, like, there's a part of you that can understand why they would protect this girl's feelings in that way. It's a short-term gain. As we see in the present timeline, it's about to come back and bite them in the fucking ass.
Didn't Osha say we have to go back or something like that? And then Soul was like, no, there's nothing for you back there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if she went back, she would have found May still alive. You know, so I guess there's that. There's like the alternative where she goes back, she finds out May is still alive. They would both just really resent the Jedi, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm very curious on what May does in between now and before she finds Chimere, or when she finds Chimere, because even if we'll get those answers, I don't know. But I feel like that's kind of the only thing that's left super unknown. Like, it's just, we know she ends up at the tree at the end of the event, and then with Chimere at some point. Like,
yeah.
But
yeah, no, it's there's a big gap there. Sorry about that. I really do like the parallel as well that this episode ends where the last one did too. Soul tells May the truth in the place where he first told Osha the lie on their medbay bed thing. I think that's a cool little touch that I really, really appreciate. But yeah, man, it was a good fucking episode. It was illuminating. It was demoralizing. It was good, man. It was really good. This is some fucking Star Wars, and I'm happy we're getting it. But
I hope it's a happy ending. I don't know. Like,
I doubt it. I don't think there's a way to get a happy ending out of this.
Eesh. Yeah, I mean, it isn't looking good. Like,
I do not see the light at the end of the tunnel next episode. You know what I'm saying? Like, one episode left, Soul tells May the truth. Soul's gonna fucking die. Like, there's no, they're gonna complete the cycle of killing all 4 of those Jedi, and that will be that, you know? Like, there will obviously be more to it than that, but none of them are going to make it out of the season. I fully believe that, you know?
Wow. Yeah, I don't see. There's no way, unless this Virgins is a god tier story writing element where they could be like, all life just comes back. You know, if can restore life. Everywhere they go is. It's just, yeah. There's no happy ending. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with anything. It's impossible. But
I'm like, there will have to be a major subversion of expectations for there to be a happy ending. You know, because, like, we know what this is barreling towards. This is about the Sith ingraining themselves prior to the Phantom Menace. That's an inherently negative thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a positive note to leave us on. But, you know, either Soul ends up dead or exiled. And one way or the other, it's not a particularly happy ending. But yeah, with that, I'll do the plugs real quick, and then we'll answer our question of the week. If you would, head to Twitter, follow at the FULCRUM Pod, where you can get updates on anything we're about to be doing. Here in a couple weeks after the finale, we are going to be beginning our Rebels rewatch. I'm very excited for that. We're going to do a couple episodes a week. We're going to start with the double premiere of Season 1, Episode 1 and 2. Super excited. Similar format to the Acolyte, maybe not so scene by scene, but still, the favorites and such. It's going to be a great time. I'm very excited. So you can get updates on whatever we're doing there. We also do the Penny Bloom podcast, where right now we're covering House of the Dragon, which is about to get halfway through next week. We're doing Cinema Surprise, where this week is the movie Cure by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. We're doing a lot. Movies, TV, all the shit. You can keep up with us, Penny Bloom Pod, and here. Yeah. With that, the question of the week was asked again by Jocelyn. Shout out to Jocelyn. What great question also. What in any medium is your dream Star Wars project?
A thing I guess we've all thought about. We all have a thing we want out of Star Wars, something we want more of. Maybe not so now, but a thing that I've always wanted before was the 17-year gap of Vader. Kind of just, I want to see Vader, whether it's animated. I feel like animated would be better so that we can just get some crazy shit. Because there's those comics that I haven't read them, but I've seen just the him surrounded by a shit ton of people, and Vader's not afraid. He's just I'm surrounded by fear and dead men, and then just I don't know. They're all dead, and I feel I want to see that Prime Vader. And animation would probably be my go-to, but my main want is a game. I want a good Star Wars single-player story game that I can choose my own route. And Lego Star Wars came sort of close. It was okay, but there was the main storyline to play, and you were just playing in the movies, and you couldn't really be your own character. But I want Skyrim, but Star Wars. That's
gotcha.
Just my favorite game of all time, but I want my favorite franchise to be melded with
meld those, yeah.
And it's a pretty common one, I feel like, and I think Jocelyn wanted something very
similar.
Very similar. But the one that tickled my fancy heavily was one that was rumored to be made in the works, which was a Mando game, and it wasn't fully that you could pick your character, but you would be playing as Mando, but you could
in an open world
choose your kills and choose your bounties and that sort of thing. And I'd be perfect. Yes, even if it's even not fully customizable, I the game is just what I need. And I don't know, I spend a lot of time in games, and I know if there was a good Star Wars one that was open-ended, it'd be over. Because the Fallen Order games are great, they are good, but I've played through them, and I guess it's
there's not much more you can get out of them now.
Yeah. So, but just the open game, and then some Vader, Prime Vader, and any more Ronin. That's my other one. I want a Ronin series, just a whole thing in the same style. Give me him just going everywhere. Taking out the Sith. And
that'd be gnarly.
So,
that would be gnarly. Yeah. Those are all good choices. I got a few. One of my favorite things I've always wanted are comics around the Bad Batch. I think that they lend themselves really neatly to a comic format. I think that would be a really, really cool comic series about the Bad Batch. One of the things that I thought of was a faithfully adapted television series of the High Republic books. I'm not talking Disney Plus, modern era, 8-episode, 6-episode seasons. I'm talking old school network 24-episode seasons where we are doing the full fucking thing. We are I'm talking faithfully adapting them. I don't want you to leave much of anything out. We're getting 24 times 40, however many minutes that is, of one book. And I think it could pay off big time. But yeah, classic network TV structure. That's one that I've always wanted. A lot of the other stuff I would like is animated or comics. I would love a Hera and Omega centered Rebellion comic. And to build on that, a sequel trilogy, Rise of the First Order era animated series following mainly Leia. In her inner workings of the Republic. Kind of a loose adaptation of Bloodline, another great book. with much more of that Rangers of the New Republic stuff getting folded in as well. And I mean, obviously Omega could come with that. I think Hera could come with that. Just heroes of the New Republic discovering the foundations of the First Order and taking the first steps towards building the Resistance. And then lastly, we need more animated movies. I want animated movies. I don't even really care what about. Make animated films, you know, like I love the animated series. They consistently some of my favorite Star Wars. They're missing out on a lot of artistic fulfillment creating animated films. I would like people are like, I want the Clone Rebellion show. I would much prefer the Clone Rebellion movie. I don't think we need a full we've gotten the Clone Wars, we've gotten the Bad Batch. We know the groundwork for a Clone Rebellion that already exists. Culminate that in a film. I think that would be really, really cool in the Clone Wars animation style. I mean, post Return of the Jedi, Luke, Leia, Han, Lando animated series, I would love that. You know, like just kind of like there's all sorts of stuff I'd be down to get. I mean, most of it would be like animated series set here, animated series set here, animated series set here, animated series around this. You know, like
Prime Luke.
I just need more Star Wars animation.
Yeah, Prime Luke would be nice. Prime Vader would be nice. Leia, I like her rises like in before the sequels, like in between Return of the Jedi and the sequels. That'd be a really cool gap to get filled in. And I guess I'm always looking for the gaps to be filled in, but then at the same time, I'd rather like it's nice having like the Acolyte, and it's still in.
I would love a brand new era,
but it's nice.
I would love a brand new era, man. That's my thing. Like that's the other thing too, is that like the stuff that is outside of our bounds that's already announced sounds really exciting. The Dawn of the Jedi, the New Jedi Order, this stuff in the High Republic. Like, yeah, that's. Right now, that's all I can really conceive of for what you would do beyond this. Maybe the Mandalorian Jedi War with Tar Vizsla and stuff. I'd like to see some sort of
that'd be cool.
You know, some sort of thing there. That would be cool. You know, like there's just a lot of lore that I think could be fleshed out. Old Republic stuff, canonize some Old Republic things. I think that would be really cool.
Get some Revan,
there's
or Darth Bane.
Yeah, some Revan Bane. That would be cool.
Keanu
you
Reeves
know?
up in here, get him in here somehow. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so I got a lot of ideas, but those are definitely the top of the list. But with that, we will conclude this episode of Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast. We'll be back next week with the finale of The Acolyte. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, for light and life.